Right now, I want us to come back to a little word called discouragement. Everybody gets discouraged. Even a great man of faith like Elijah. He calls down fire to consume the sacrifice at Mount Carmel. He has great victory. He turns the heart of the people of Israel back to God. And then he gets discouraged and begins to run for his life because one woman named Jezebel wants to kill him. We pick up the story in verse 4 of 1 Kings chapter 19. While he himself was on a day's journey to the desert, he came to a broom tree and sat down under it. And he prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I've had enough. Just not going to do this anymore, God. I've had enough. Now, God helps him overcome his initial discouragement. He has food, he has drink, he has a good sleep. And then food, drink, and sleep. I call it the food, drink, sleep, repeat for handling discouragement. But then when he finally comes before God at Horeb, God looks at him and says in verse 9, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Now in verse 10 and in verse 14, we find Elijah saying the same words. I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, broken down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me. Now, discouragement has a horrible effect upon our lives. Number one, it changes the way you speak. Your speech becomes very self-centered and very negative. I, they. You can always listen to the speech of a person and tell if there's real discouragement in their heart, because real discouragement focuses on their accomplishments and their zealousness, but on everyone else's failure. He doesn't talk about the fact that the people had just made a decision at Mount Carmel that God would be God and that they had put to death 450 false prophets. He doesn't say all the good things Israel has done. He just talks about the bad things. So in addition to changing speech, it changes perspective. You don't see things the same as everybody else sees. I'm the only one left. Now, Elijah, you know that's not true, because you just ran into Obadiah, and Obadiah told you how zealous he had been for God and how he had saved 100 prophets, putting 50 each in 2 different caves and giving them food and drink and protecting them from Jezebel, who wanted to kill them. So he said, you know, wait a minute, you're not remembering things that you yourself have just experienced. Sometimes I say discouragement gives you a very good forgetter. You forget all the good things and you only see the negative things. But also, his perspective on who was against him. I would not say paranoid, but I would say he had a different perspective. He said, they want to kill me. They didn't want to kill him, only Jezebel. Even Ahab, the king, didn't want to kill him, only Jezebel. But he says all of the people of Israel want to kill him. But I think the strongest thing is here. He said, God, I've had enough. And God listened to him. And at the end of the story, we find out in verse 16 and 17, God said, anoint Elisha as your successor. Now that's a very scary thought. But some of you are in leadership today and you've become very discouraged. And I don't criticize your zealousness. I don't criticize all the great things you've done for God. But something has happened that has brought such intense discouragement into your life that it's changed your perspective, it's changed the way you speak, it's changed the way you see things. Be very careful with telling God, I've had enough. Because when God looks at your heart and he sees that you've had enough, he'll take you out of that position of leadership and put somebody else there. Because he's mad at you? No. Because he's punishing you? No. Because he loves you. And he doesn't want you to hurt anymore. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, he understands that when you've said you've had enough, you've had enough. You say, well, Pastor Summer, what should I do if I'm really discouraged? I would shut my mouth because you're not seeing things clearly. I would shut my mouth because your perceptions have been affected. As my daddy used to tell me, zip your lip. I would zip my lip. I'd go get some good sleep. I'd go eat some good food, very nutritious food. I'd drink a lot of fluid and get myself rehydrated. I'd repeat. I'd get more rest. And it's amazing how your perspective and your words and everything changes when you've had some good food, some good sleep, and you've rehydrated yourself.